Good morning, cycling, form, and fitness athletes. Maybe it's good afternoon or evening for you when you're watching this. What I wanted to review quickly is running power and using your power meter properly for pacing. I saw after I reviewed the data of the 5K and 5 mile that we did yesterday for many of the athletes that I coach. I saw a fair amount of variation in power output. So I don't think that we're 100% on the same page about the benefits of running with power and actually using power displayed on your watch to pace properly. So I'm going to break it down a little bit and just see if we can improve for the long run this week, and we can use that sort of mindset for the half marathons that we have coming up in the next couple weeks. So hang with me. I'm not a professional presenter here, but I'm going to give you enough details that I think you'll understand. If you have questions, though, always reach out and ask them before you get to these runs and races, and I'll do my best to clarify them so that we're not confused going into it. I want to set you guys up for success. So I'd done extensive data review last year. I looked at run power compared to other ways of pacing, GPS, your perceived exertion, heart rate, and there is no comparison as far as I could tell. I mean, running was without a doubt better paced and faster overall. Call it with the same level of heart rate and effort, whatever intensity you want to compare to. Running by power lets me get the most speed on my body with the least amount of stress. Now, again, we have to pick the power targets correctly, and then we just have to believe in that, use it, practice it, and for race day, there'll be no mystery. We'll understand. And even if your power meter doesn't work on race day, you're just so dialed in on your perceived exertion that you're able to calibrate these efforts better, but you need to practice them. And that's key for our long run that's coming up. So if you ever want to look at all these comparisons that I have, feel free to let me know and I can show you the full 40 slide PowerPoint presentation. But we're keeping it short today. So what I have coming up this week for everyone, I believe, that's currently a coached athlete is a long run. And for me, that's an hour and 35 minutes. Some of you guys could be a little bit shorter, a little bit longer. It just depends on how we've been able to build up. We can only go so fast as far as our progression. So we've been adding 5-10 minutes per week. It is what it is. We're prepared as we're going to get for our half marathons. They can only get easier as we get further into the season and we get more time running outside. So with that, you can open this up. You can see the description I put into your long run, whether you're doing that on the Train Peaks app on your phone or your laptop. This one's my laptop, of course. So what I have for coaching comments on there, I'll put this in all of your long runs today, so you have it for later in the week. So zone 2 for the first half of the run, no big change there, but we want it done on running power. During mile 2 or 3, do 5 by 30-second strides, have about a minute and a half of recovery between. That takes about 10 minutes. So you've done strides, zone 4, low zone 5, they're all good for run power relative to stride intensity, and then just recover well between. That could be walking or easy jog. So that'll be the first half. The second half, we're going to run in low zone 3. That tends to be a really good half marathon pace for most decently trained athletes. So we're going to test that this weekend. You're going to run low zone 3 for the last half of your run. It's okay to walk up your very steep uphills. I'd rather have you do that than get into the red zone and just go into zone 4, zone 5. We really want to stick with zone 3 as much as we can. And it's also okay to walk to some light wire stations. I want you to do that if that's what you're going to most likely do in your half marathon. So it could be about every 10 minutes. You just can walk up to 30 seconds, but have it be less if you can and not longer. Okay, so that's the last half of our long run. What I want you to do at the end of that run, and you can use it as part of the overall time, is just spend the last 5 minutes, kind of bring your body back down. Do that by a slow jog or a walk, but have zone 1 be the last 5 minutes. No cheating involved with that. I just don't want you to stop with zone 3 being your run intensity. Put on the brakes and go to your house because you're going to end up really sore the next day. Let's make sure we do a cool down. So the next slide is the transition to figuring out your run power zones. So this is going to be thinking that you already have it displayed on your watch and you know how to be able to view that during your run. So if you open up your Training Peaks zones, you'll have your various zones 1, 2, and 3. That's what we're going to be using during this long run, but primarily zones 2 for the way out and zone 3 for the way back. So again, zone 2 for the first half, I'm using my power as an example. You have to look at your numbers. My zone for zone 2 is 234 to 256. So I just pick a midpoint. I round it to the nearest 5. So that's 245 for me. And then I'm going to allow myself to vary about plus or minus 10 watts. So I'm going to look at my watch every 30 seconds and make sure I don't fall out of that range of 235 to 255. So that's plus or minus 10 from that midpoint. So again, the math's not too bad. You can do this, but if you need help, let me know. I don't even look at pace. I don't look at heart rate. This is zone 2. This is no problem. This is me getting a little warm up and a little bit of fatigue. And then the second half, I'm going to go to low zone 3. So that's going to be my race simulation for what I'm going to do at the half marathon. So I'm going to do that in low zone 3. That tends to be a good power for people doing half marathons. For me, that's 257 to 276 watts. So again, I said low zone 3. So that's 257 is where zone 3 starts for me. I'm just rounding that to 260 for convenience. I'm going to use a range of plus or minus 10. So that's 250 to 270. And I'm going to stick to that for the second half of the run and make sure I stay within that window the best I can. I'm going to do that by looking at my watch about every 30 seconds. So you can do the same thing. Sometimes you'll see a number out or in, especially if you're on a hill. Just do your best to level it out and try not to get overly fixated on it. Use it as a reference just to bring yourself back into the right intensity. For the second half, I'm going to practice what I do at race day, and that's looking at my heart rate about every 5 minutes. I could even look at pace because that's my second face on my watch for running. I can push the down button on my Garmin. You guys might have a different Garmin. I have the 935, and I can go to my second face. Don't want to end the run. We want to make sure we know how to transition in between phases to see different data. So make sure you have your setup and you've practiced that. But I have a separate one that has overall average pace. It has time, and it has current heart rate. So I can at least see that I don't go over my threshold of 160. That's red zone. You know, if I'm getting that late into this half marathon, I'm going to have to bring the power down. You know, maybe if it's the end, I can take that to the finish, but you gotta use care not to be over your heart rate threshold. You might have been dehydrated, and it's too late to catch up now. You know, you need to drink and do well with your nutrition throughout the half marathon. So anyways, that's the way I set power targets. I stick to them very well. I don't over fixate on them. I think about every 30 seconds, maybe every minute's enough as a reference. I can pretty much have that watch just easy to look at because I have just a power number on the one face. That's all I use. So even for this 10-mile run that we did yesterday, some of you did a 5K and I did the 5-mile. I'm sorry about that. And for the 5-mile run yesterday, I just used power. I had a goal of 290 plus or minus 10. I stayed within that. I hit 290. That's what I have in Training Peaks. And it gave me the result, and I suffered a bit, but I didn't suffer too much. So it really does work. You get the best out of your body. You eliminate those spikes of going over your target. And by doing so, you're able to keep a faster, steady state overall. So it really does work, but you need to test it for yourself. So let me know if you have any questions. And I hope that you have a successful run this weekend. And if not, we can get off for a couple more runs to fine tune this method. Let me know. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.